Elections are right around the corner. If you want to make sure your voice is heard, it's more important than ever to know how, when, and where to vote. That's why AARP created an election guide that includes information on how to register, where to vote, and key voting deadlines. Stay informed so you can make your voice heard in the upcoming election. Log on to learn more.
We've all seen it. A social media post or video where your first thought is that true? Unfortunately, misinformation comes in many forms, but there are tools to help you spot those red flags. That's why WKYT and our corporate company, Gray Television Group, are teaming up with MediaWise, a literary initiative for the nonprofit Pointer Institute. Learn how to navigate through the social media noise and identify factual information. Scan the QR code now to find out more and sign up for daily text messages to become MediaWise. From Kentucky's election headquarters, this is WKYT coverage of Campaign 2023.
Good evening, Bill Bryant and Amber Philpott here with the WKYT News team, and we are scattered out tonight to welcome you to our coverage of Campaign 2023. The polls just closed in the western part of the state seconds ago, and tonight we will find out who will be the governor of the Commonwealth.
Will it be Democratic incumbent Governor Andy Beshear, or will his Republican opponent, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, win the state's top job? And let's take a look at the numbers as they stand right now. Again, these are still very early, Bill, as we look at them.
You're right. We only have a small sector, 13% of the vote in at this point. But Andy Beshear is off to a 60% to 40% lead. What we know about these results, Amber, is that this reflects a big dump of votes out of Jefferson County, which you would expect Beshear would have as a stronghold. So we will be getting many more votes in from rural areas. We do expect this will tighten as we go along.
And, of course, we do start to see some numbers out of Fayette County tonight as well.
We're watching that right now. So we'll be tracking multiple state races tonight on the ballot, including not only governor, but attorney general, secretary of state, agriculture commissioner, treasurer, and auditor, along with some local races along the way.
Let's get right to our complete Campaign 2023 coverage. We begin with Governor Beshear. He's seeking a second term, and a lot of folks around the country are watching to see if a Democrat can win in a state that has become more and more Republican even since he took office.
Right, the registration flipped. Republicans outnumber Democrats in Kentucky at this point. WKYT's Kelsey Soto joining us live from Governor Andy Beshear's campaign headquarters tonight in Louisville. Kelsey.
Good evening to both of you. You were just talking about some of those numbers, and I know we don't have a lot of data out of the East yet, but we do know statistically and historically Beshear has done well there. His former opponent, who is now his senior advisor, Rocky Adkins, has a lot of support and ties there, and that has definitely helped them in this case. This is where he spent most of his time yesterday. We saw him visit Pikeville, Prestonsburg, Moorhead, and then coming back through Lexington and Louisville. And this is something that we've heard from supporters as well. There's a mixture of people here tonight. We have some that have followed him for nearly a decade now, all the way back to before he became the 50th Attorney General for the state. And some are actually friends of former Governor Steve Beshear, who is also his father. So really a mixture here this evening, plenty of room, but still a very intimate setting as well. So we are looking forward to getting some more numbers and hearing from those candidates this evening. For now, live in Louisville, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
All right, a lot to watch tonight as we look at these kind of county by county. One observation that we just had, Beshear leading Cameron by nearly 16 points in Madison County with about 36% of the vote in. That is a county that flipped blue to Beshear in 2019, but by less than 100 votes. It was very close then. So if that margin holds, then Beshear is looking to pick up Madison County. Republicans hope to win the governor's office back, of course, and sweep the other offices that are up for grabs tonight.
And tracking Beshear's opponent, Attorney General Daniel Cameron, is our Grayson Passmore. She's live for us at the Marriott in Louisville tonight with his campaign. Grayson?
Yeah, Amber and Bill, we're about an hour into this watch party, and I'm sure you can tell from the commotion going on around me, it's a large, loud, and very excited crowd out here. Now, this event is hosted by the Republican Party of Kentucky, and while we've yet to see Daniel Cameron arrive, the room is filled with supporters. Along with much of the nation, they're tuning in to see how this closely contested race for governor will turn out tonight. Daniel Cameron succeeded Governor Beshear as Attorney General, and he's told us he's confident he'll do so once again this time as governor. And if Cameron accomplishes what he set out to do this race, he will become the state's first black governor. Cameron did make history, becoming the state's first black Attorney General. Now, he has touted his endorsement from former President Donald Trump, as well as his plans for education and the economy. He spent this morning voting with his family in Louisville, where he was all smiles, telling reporters there that he's finally at peace at this point of the campaign, and he's just happy to spend time with his wife and son, and eventually spending time with much of his supporters here at this watch party tonight, which is where we'll be the rest of the evening here at the Marriott in downtown Louisville. We're going to be following along with this race and updating you as the night goes on and votes or results start to come in. But for now, live in Louisville, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
And some interesting storylines along the way. We're just hearing that out of Powell County, Andy Beshear, with 100% of the vote counted there, has won Powell County by one vote.
Wow.
Now, he lost it by a couple of hundred in 2019, so that is an increase for Beshear.
We are joined now by our political experts that are helping us out tonight with some analysis. Dr. Don Doogie from Transylvania and Dr. Ann Sismar from Eastern Kentucky University. What are you seeing? Let's start there as we start to see more and more numbers. We're still very early, but Dr. Sismar, what are you starting to kind of see and formulate?
Well, I noticed that Taylor County, we were just talking about that. It's coming in about 94% of the vote already, and even though Cameron's winning there, it's by a smaller margin than in 2019. And so that couple of percentage point, if that's kind of holding across the state, that spells perhaps trouble for the Cameron campaign.
Sure. Dr. Doogie, you make the same observation.
Very much so. Even in the counties that he's losing, the share has cut the margin of defeat considerably. And he's doing fairly well in southeastern Kentucky so far and northeastern Kentucky as well, although there are still a lot of votes to come in from there. But it doesn't bode well for Cameron if that trend continues. Although, again, we're talking only less than 20% of the vote counted.
And many times over the years, we've said, you know, the western Kentucky vote could hold the key for Republicans where they tend to get those numbers in. But you also had the tornadoes that hit western Kentucky. Of course, the flooding in eastern Kentucky. There's sort of been these regional disasters and issues that, do you think that could play into the campaign?
Modestly. Again, I don't think it's going to overwhelmingly support Beshear because of his flood relief or his tornado relief efforts, but it can't hurt.
All right. We are also watching for some other particular counties, and we'll kind of talk about those as we continue to go on. Certainly in northern Kentucky, Kenton County being one that Beshear flipped. Warren County also back out in western Kentucky.
So I would ask the same sort of question, a sort of a regional issue. The Brent Spence Bridge project that was announced without tolls. Is that helpful to Beshear in northern Kentucky?
Well, given the mess that the bridge has been, I suspect a lot of people are happy about it, so that might have an impact. Some of those northern counties were not all that much in favor of Beshear in the last election, so it'll be interesting to see whether or not he can still maintain a majority. Some of the counties that he only won 23 counties in 2019. And of those, several were very close. You already mentioned Madison County as one that was very close. But it was also true in Kenton, Knott, Madison, and Nicholas counties, where it was barely a 1% difference. And actually, they were all plurality wins, not majority wins in those counties.
Before we get to our other numbers, Dr. Sismar, do you have a take on those?
Well, I definitely think that some of those projects that he's been able to announce and identify with the campaign may have helped him because, again, we're not talking about a huge blowout margin of victory here. We're talking about something that could be within the margin of a few percentage points, and so every little bit would help in those cases.
All right.
We've talked a lot about holding the margin. So
we're going to keep watching. Dr. Doogie and Dr. Sismar, thank you. We'll be back with you here in just a few minutes. We do want to look at some of the other races right now. as we're watching tonight, and we'll look at the race for Attorney General. Tied up 50-50 right now with the votes that are in so far, which is at about 19%. Russell Coleman far outspent Stevenson in this race. We would anticipate as the vote continues to come in from rural areas, his numbers will improve. But Pamela Stevenson especially showing that she's doing well in urban areas tonight.
Yes, let's continue to look at our other numbers here tonight. And next up, Secretary of State Michael Adams there with 55% of the vote to Buddy Wheatley there with 45%. And then moving on to more of our numbers. Auditor Allison Ball, 54% to Kimberly Reeder, 46% tonight. And the Agriculture Commissioner, Jonathan Schell, 52%, Sierra Enlow, 48%.
Again, a race that may change as the rural numbers come in. Now, in the race at the moment for State Treasurer, Michael Bowman has taken the lead over Mark Metcalf. Metcalf at 50%, Bowman at 50%, but a bit of a margin in the actual vote totals with just 20% in. So let's all keep in mind, 80% of the vote is still out, and all of these numbers are subject to change tonight.
Well, we do have crews all spread out for us tonight following what we like to call here those undercard races tonight, those down ballot races. And Samantha Valentino is live for us in Louisville tonight. She joins us now. Samantha?
Bill and Amber, obviously you were just reading off some of those numbers, and the crowd here in Louisville, they are very optimistic. The Republican Party obviously hoping to throw a victory party here this evening. This is where we are following several of those down ballot races. That includes Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Auditor. Let me step out of the way here so you can get a little bit of a better look around the room. So far, we've only seen appearances from Coleman and Adams. I have not seen Ball yet. Of course, Senate President Robert Stivers was here earlier. We spoke with him. He, for one, says he is very hopeful that tonight is going to be a sweep for the Republicans, and obviously he thinks that would be the best option for Kentucky here tonight. So, of course, for Attorney General, we have Russell Coleman for the Republican Party. He's a former FBI agent, state prosecutor, and U.S. Attorney for the Western District, as he was appointed by former President Trump. He says he wants to better protect Kentucky families. And then, of course, for Secretary of State, we have incumbent Michael Adams running for re-election. He says he still wants to continue his work of making voting easier here in Kentucky and making cheating harder. He says he feels he's already accomplished that, but wants to continue that work. And as we mentioned, running for state auditor, we have Allison Ball. She's wrapping up her second term as state treasurer this year. And in her past two statewide elections for treasurer, she did lead the ticket with the most votes. And she, like everybody else we've mentioned so far tonight, is really hoping to walk away a winner. But for now, I'll send it back to you all. Live in Louisville, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
Samantha, thank you very much. For whatever reason, not all the Republicans are together tonight. Two of the candidates on the ticket staying in Garrett County, which they both call home. I don't know if they didn't want to be at the big party or if they just
wanted to have their
want
own
to be
party,
home with the folks.
Well, following the Republican candidates there tonight for Agriculture Commissioner and Treasurer is our Phil Pendleton. He is joining us live in downtown Lancaster tonight with their campaigns. Phil?
And they're getting ready to have a party here in downtown Lancaster. The food trucks are here. They have balloons set up behind them. They're wanting to have a victory speech. But the races are pretty close here. As far as we just heard, the statewide races, 50-50 tied in that state treasurer's race, and 52-48. Jonathan Schell with a 4-point lead so far right now in the state agriculture commissioner's race. Both of these candidates from Garrett County. Garrett County, a very traditional red county, being a Republican majority county, even when all the counties around it were strictly Democrat for years, but it has had a long tradition of putting out Republican red candidates, and they are hoping to have a victory celebration here very shortly. Of course, Jonathan Schell was a state lawmaker, the majority floor leader for some time, and of course a Republican, and Mark Metcalf, a local prosecutor here for many, many years, both wanting to be having a office in the capital city of Frankfort, and their supporters are here. I just spoke with Jonathan Schell and his family just a few moments ago, very optimistic about what tonight will hold, and Mark Metcalf is as well. Live in Garrett County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
with an engine revving there. It sounded
right there in Garrett County. Well, our Julia Sandor is also live for us. She is back in Louisville tonight. She is following the Democratic candidates in those down ballot races. Good evening, Julia.
Yeah, good evening, guys. We're here in Louisville where the Beshear campaign is set up, and we should be seeing some of those candidates. I haven't seen them yet, but this room is full and has a lot of energy. But we heard some of those numbers. We have a tight race right now. I know it's still early, but for Attorney General, we have Pamela Stevenson, who's run her campaign on faith and family. And, you know, serving in the Air Force, she's talked a lot about that and, you know, being a people's attorney and working for that state. And we also have another very tight race with Treasurer Michael Bowman, you know, is just down by a few right now, but you can see that a lot of the words we're using in both of these campaigns is optimism. And a lot of people here are hoping to stay optimistic. And, you know, they went into their last push yesterday when many of those candidates went with the Beshear campaign, kind of toured around many different parts of the state. And we'll continue to keep you updated if we see any of these candidates come in later on this evening. But again, you can see behind me the energy is up and these candidates are going to remain optimistic. But for now, I'll send it back to you guys. I'm live in Louisville. Julia Sandor, WKYT.
And Julia, thank you. And back to some observations about the governor's races. We're continuing to get votes in Lexington with 57% of the Fayette County vote in Beshear, with 75% of the vote in Fayette County. That is a substantial improvement over 2019 when he had 65% of the vote. Again, not all the votes are in. The numbers may tighten and change, but Beshear off to a substantial win, it looks like, in Fayette County. Kenton and Campbell also showing Beshear ahead at the moment and outperforming his margins in 2019.
We want you to stay with us because coming up next, we're going to go to our alert desk, and our Garrett Weimer is here with us tonight with some analysis, and he's looking at several different things as we track all of these races and we watch these numbers come in. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Get Black Friday savings all month long at Don Franklin family of dealerships. Choose from thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Plus, Don Franklin's 10-year unlimited mile powertrain coverage is available for most makes and models. Hurry into Don Franklin or DonFranklinAuto.com.
Bob's Copper Sport mattress is strategically engineered to facilitate an optimal sleep environment. Cooling copper threads regulate temperature, viscoelastic gel memory foam alleviates pressure, and a meticulously designed...
I'm sorry, we don't speak mattress.
Does the transition foam seamlessly distribute weight and minimize motion transfer?
Oh, yeah. And it's just $7.99 with an 18-year warranty.
Oh, my Bob, we've got a little sleep genius.
When every day is like Black Friday, there's only one thing to say.
Oh, my Bob!
Bob's Discount Furniture.
No matter how many crunches, core work I do, this will just not budge. Hi, my name is Vanessa Simmons. I went to Sono Bello and I had them remove all of my stubborn body fat right here in one visit. I saw the shape of my body changing immediately. My stomach is definitely flatter. My waist is tiny. I see curves that I didn't even know I had before.
Sono Bello's board-certified surgeons use micro-laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat cells for good on your stomach, hips and thighs, back, and so much more.
I feel like I got my confidence back.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation and find out how you can get $250 off instantly. Call 1-888-336-2869 or go to sonobello.com.
When you need a fighter, you need us. Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm for the people.
Breaking weather and traffic doesn't have to take you by surprise.
With First Alert weather alerts and traffic alerts in the morning, we'll get you where you need to go on time.
We keep this from happening to you.
WKYT, the most weather and traffic updates all morning long.
Get Black Friday savings all month long at Don Franklin family of dealerships. Choose from thousands of new and pre-owned vehicles. Plus, Don Franklin's 10-year unlimited mile powertrain coverage is available for most makes and models. Hurry into Don Franklin or DonFranklinAuto.com.
Welcome back into our Campaign 2023 coverage. We are continuing to watch these numbers come in, and still early, but we do have some more numbers that we want to get to you right now in the race for governor, Bill. As you can see, Andy Beshear leading at the moment. This is just the governor's race, and this is again just 24%, about a quarter of the vote in, but Beshear with a substantial lead. One of the things we would note tonight, Cameron has the lowest vote total among the Republicans on the ticket, and Beshear has the most votes of any Democrat on the ticket tonight. So that is an indication there's been a lot of ticket splitting going on today. Kentucky has that option of a straight party vote, and some do that, of course. And also, you know, in 2023, the most reliable prediction of how someone will vote, supposedly, political behavior, is how they're registered. It looks like tonight we may be seeing some departure from that in the governor's race. This is a race that received a lot of national attention and national eyes on it. The race for Kentucky governor, of course. And our Garrett Weimer is joining us tonight at our alert desk, and he's going to be with us throughout this hour, kind of breaking down some of the facts, the numbers on this governor's race. Garrett? All right. Apologize for no sound from Garrett. We will get back to him very shortly. Let's take a look, if we can. We'll run through the rest of our races here tonight, if we can get those up, and we'll take a look with the numbers that we do have now for some of those other down ballot races that we have tonight. Show you what we're looking for, because we're electing all of the statewide constitutional seats in Kentucky, including Attorney General, which is, remember, Daniel Cameron had the option to run for re-election, but decided instead to run for governor, a decision that he telegraphed to us on Kentucky Newsmakers way back last summer. But Russell Coleman is leading now in that race for Attorney General, as you see. And Secretary of State Michael Adams there with 57% of the vote to Buddy Wheatley's 43% of the vote. Michael Adams, of course, looking for another term there in office. For Agriculture Commissioner Jonathan Schell there, 54% to Sierra Enlow, 46%. And we'll look at the race for state auditor, where the state treasurer, Allison Ball, is going for another seat and is leading right now over Kimberly Reeder in that race. And we have one more, the state treasurer's race. Mark Metcalf now with a lead over Michael Bowman as more votes are coming in tonight. All right, let's take you back now to the alert desk and our Garrett Weimer. Garrett?
Look at some of these margins.
Go ahead, Garrett.
I wanted to take a look at some of these margins here, guys, of some of these counties that we've been talking about. And I've been comparing these numbers from the AP with the numbers from the Secretary. This actually has several counties in saying they are completely, fully reporting. So I would like to go over those. And again, this map here is going to be a little bit behind. But Breathitt County, the Secretary of State's office says Beshear won Breathitt County by 644 votes. Now, in 2019, he won that county by 69 votes. And if we look at Powell County, Beshear won that county by 1 vote this year. Tonight, according to the Secretary of State's numbers, he lost Powell County by 206 votes back in 2019. And we are seeing in Lee County, the Secretary of State's office has Daniel Cameron winning that county by 112 votes. That was a county that the Republican Matt Bevin in 2019 won by 646 votes. So we are seeing in these counties that have fully reported, according to the Secretary of State's office, we are seeing these smaller margins, whether it is a county that Republicans won in 2019 or whether it's a county that Beshear won by larger margins. So we are seeing these margins definitely play a difference. so far. Now, I do want to check in here in Fayette County at 56.7% of the votes. We are now up to 90% of votes here in Fayette County. Those just came in, and you can see that margin staying strong there. Again, in 2019, it was about a 30% margin, and this is definitely above that. So still 10% of the vote to come in Fayette County, but we've talked about Beshear needing to kind of run the count up in the urban centers, Louisville and in Lexington, and it looks like so far he has been doing that. Jefferson, still a lot to come there, but for now, I'll send it back to you guys.
All right, Garrett, thank you. Bill, you just mentioned this a moment ago. This is a race that's really been going on for a long time. Last summer, if we think back, you had a Newsmakers taping, and someone let a little something slip, and then the next thing you know, we're already talking about a governor's race.
And that was the Attorney General, Daniel Cameron, and I, we had him in to talk about what he was doing as Attorney General. Toward the end, I said, well, I assume you're running for re-election. Kind of paused, and I caught that, and I said, you are running for re-election, and are you running for something else? Are you running for governor? And it was kind of fun, and he didn't answer. A couple of days later, he was in the governor's race. So, yes, it started then. He had the endorsement of Donald Trump, and Trump did not come to Kentucky, but he did help him with his campaign, and that was said to be very key in his easy win of the primary.
In fact, he's just using him last night in a teleconference. Rally.
It's early. A few minutes after the voting has closed in the Eastern time zones, we are beginning to see, though, some promising things for Beshear and some disappointments for Cameron right now. The map, as we said, is filling in as it is expected, but the margins at this point are not as strong for Beshear or for Cameron in some of the areas that he is winning, that as he would like to overcome some of this, and the margins are bigger for Beshear in some of the metro counties.
We appreciate you being here with us. Stay with us because we're going to have much more coming your way.
Want a flatter, tighter tummy? Then check out new Ab EX from Sono Bello.
Doctor, after my pregnancies, my body just never bounced back. I had this stomach overhang that made me really self-conscious.
It's not your fault. That stubborn fat and excess skin is very difficult to get rid of with diet and exercise alone.
That's exactly why I went to Sono Bello. I really trust their team of experts, and I finally got the flat stomach I had always wanted.
Introducing Ab EX from Sono Bello. Remove fat and lose excess skin permanently in just one visit.
Ab EX is a great alternative to a tummy tuck because that overhang you mentioned becomes flat and tight fast with minimal downtime.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation now to learn more about Ab EX by Sono Bello. Call 1-888-507-8988 or go to sonobello.com.
Big trucks can cause big wrecks.
I'm attorney Daryl Isaacs, the Hammer. Big truck wrecks don't just happen with 18-wheelers. Delivery trucks like this have caused thousands of accidents. And when dump trucks like this lose control on the highway, the consequences can be deadly. So if you've been injured by a dump truck, delivery truck, 18-wheeler, or any kind of big truck, I'll fight to get you every dollar you deserve.
Big truck wreck, call 877-ALL-7s.
One call, that's all.
Breaking weather and traffic doesn't have to take you by surprise.
With First Alert weather alerts and traffic alerts in the morning, we'll get you where you need to go on time.
When you watch WKYT News in the mornings, you know first. We keep this from happening to you.
WKYT, the station to watch the most weather and traffic updates all morning long.
Welcome back into our campaign 2023 coverage as we continue to follow more races, and we want to look at some of the local races that we have tonight. We're going to start here in Fayette County with the county clerk's race, and Bill, you see there Susan Lamb with 70% of the vote to Don Perkins there, 30%.
Yeah, Lamb is the incumbent. She was appointed to the position after, you remember Don Blivens Jr. Left it, retired suddenly after just winning another term. So Lamb will now if she wins this, serve out the full term. We want to look at this race. It's been very interesting. A special election being held in District 93. That is where we had a death earlier of the state representative Lamine Swan, the Democrat, who had defeated Kyle Whalen last November by about 8 points. Well, right now, Adriel Camuel is leading Whalen by about 16 percentage points with 80% of the vote in. That's in District 93. That's an area out around Alumni Drive, Tate's Creek, sort of south Lexington over there.
We will continue to watch that race. And next we have the Fayette County Board of Education race here. We've got Marilyn Clark with 52% of the vote to Janet Green there with 48% to fill that seat. And next up we have Harrodsburg Mayor. We're still waiting on numbers for this race. We also have the Flemingsburg mayor race, again, still waiting on numbers for this local race. And let's go back now to the governor's race as we continue to watch more numbers here tonight. We'll look at the latest.
Yeah, this is the one that everybody's been talking about and watching, and here we are. We'll show you those numbers, though, in just a moment. Beshear with a considerable lead. Dr. Don Dugan has taught at Transylvania University for quite a while, and Dr. Ann Sismar is from EKU, and they're both with us tonight. As we look at this, and we're, we had polls that were all over the place, but it looks like at this point, at least in the early voting that we have in, and we're getting more and more votes, the Beshear is out to a significant lead.
Well, and the trend we mentioned earlier about even in those counties that he's losing, the margin is reduced considerably from his last election, where he lost those counties with a considerably larger percentage. It's also the case you're seeing better performance in places like Hardin County, which obviously there wasn't blue last time at all.
Daniel Cameron's home county.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Dr. Sismar, when you talked to Bill on Newsmakers, you talked about who was going to get out to the polls, and you talked about the folks that are most keyed in, they're going to go, they're going to vote. And then you talked about the people that maybe aren't as keyed in, and they're probably not going to go vote. But you talked specifically about a lot of those people that were in the middle, that maybe could be swayed one way or the other. We're talking tonight about a lot of split ticket voting. Talk to me about that.
I do think this speaks to Beshear's ability to talk to Kentucky voters, to resonate with them, despite the changing trends within the state, and it's becoming more Republican over time. But yet still, it seems like he maybe has the pulse on voters across the state, responding to some of those natural disasters, providing his leadership.
You had two campaigns that sort of talked past each other. Cameron emphasized the social issues, the rise in crime, some of those things, while at the same time you had Beshear talking about the economy and the announcements that he had made. He said the economy's on fire. Cameron said it's on life support from what he sees when he talks to folks. What's carrying the day out there in terms of the message?
Well, for Beshear, I think his emphasis on jobs and fuller employment, lower unemployment rate, and it has been fairly remarkable, actually. And he's recruited a lot of industry to the state, and I think he's done a good job in that respect, and people recognize that fact. Certainly it has helped his campaign. He hasn't focused on the social issues as much, obviously. He also hasn't focused on national politics at all in any meaningful way.
If Beshear wins tonight, will it have been a more optimistic message that may have been what helped him?
I do think that he's attempted to radiate that optimism and focus on the economic record. There has been plenty of campaigning, though, on both sides that maybe points out negative components of the opponent, even if it's not directly from the candidates themselves, then from some of the party PACs or other organizations. And so there has been quite a bit of negative campaigning, I think, all around.
That's become the norm.
Our viewers are well aware of that, right?
It's the norm, unfortunately.
They're probably ready to get back to grocery store and car ads.
Well, in campaigning, we used to talk about building affect, building a situation where people like the candidate. But years ago, they figured out that you can't always do that, so disaffect has become the norm, trying to alienate them from their opponents.
We saw a lot of that.
Absolutely. We appreciate your all's insight.
All right. We're calling a race now for in the 93rd district for Adriel Camuel. Adriel Camuel wins the 93rd House district and will keep that seat in Democratic hands in Frankfort.
And we also have this in with the Flemingsburg Mayor. Van Alexander has been elected mayor there in Flemingsburg. We're going to have much more coming your way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
No one wins alone.
NASCAR is really a team sport.
You need your mechanics, your pit crew to make everything come together.
No different at Morgan & Morgan. That attorney has a great team behind him that makes them the winning team.
No matter how many crunches, core work I do, this will just not budge. Hi, my name is Vanessa Simmons. I went to Sono Bello and I had them remove all of my stubborn body fat right here in one visit. I saw the shape of my body changing immediately. My stomach is definitely flatter. My waist is tiny. I see curves that I didn't even know I had before.
Sono Bello's board-certified surgeons use micro-laser technology to safely target and remove your diet-resistant fat cells for good on your stomach, hips and thighs, back, and so much more.
I feel like I got my confidence back.
Schedule your free, no-obligation consultation and find out how you can get $250 off instantly. Call 1-888-336-2869 or go to sonobello.com.
Best-in-class service. It begins with a friendly hello and ends with a goodbye. It considers you, your time, your needs, and your budget. Where personalized solutions start with considerate people. People who don't just talk at you. They listen to you, offering transparent pricing on any service you need or want. At Don Hauer, our people come from a place that believes plumbing, heating, and air services are people services. Because you can't understand how to service a home if you don't respect the people who live there. Don Hauer Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Respectful, reliable, service reimagined.
Welcome back to WKYT coverage of Campaign 2023 tonight. A fresh look at the numbers now in the Kentucky governor's race. And here's what we have at the moment.
And here we see with about 33% of the votes estimated in, you see Andy Beshear there with 56% of the vote to Daniel Cameron's 44%.
What is out, we believe to be a rural vote, so we would anticipate that will be tightening up. We do have the first call in the race from the Cook Political Report's Dave Wasserman, who said in a message to his readers that he has seen enough and he believes that Beshear will win the race here tonight, but we'll continue to wait till we get more information before any call is made.
We'll check back in now with our reporters tonight. WKYT's Kelsey Soto is joining us live from Governor Andy Beshear's campaign there in Louisville tonight. Kelsey.
Good evening to you. There is fewer and less space for standing room here tonight as people are continuing to mill about. I can also say that when that Jefferson dump came in, that 20,000 votes or so, there was an audible cheer from this group. They are watching the numbers closely. People don't seem to be on their phones. We do have those numbers up on a big screen for them to kind of monitor, but it is definitely a who's who at this type of event, and our Julia Sander will get you a better breakdown of who's here tonight to support Beshear. I also kind of want to talk about some of those few counties that have been called at this point, including Breathitt County. You'll remember that's where the flooding happened, and it's an area that he visited frequently. And as far as spending goes, Beshear far outspent Cameron in this race. Cameron had a tough primary to get through, and so a lot of money got chalked up there, but plenty of national attention on this as well. We'll be sure to keep you updated throughout the evening. For now, live in Louisville, Kelsey Soto, WKYT.
Kelsey, thank you.
Good point about it. It was a tough primary. Cameron won it handily in the end, but it was divisive. There were a lot of things said, and his opponents did not campaign with him in the fall. So that perhaps has been a bit of a factor as well.
We'll check in now also in Louisville with our Grayson Passmore. She's live at the Marriott for us there with Daniel Cameron's campaign.
Yeah, Amber and Bill, since we last spoke about 30 minutes ago, it's safe to say this crowd has gotten a little bit louder, a little bit larger, and they're still very much excited. Now, this room is full of a lot of Daniel Cameron supporters, and we have started to see a few familiar faces. We've seen Robert Stivers, Senator Douglas, and we've seen Daniel Cameron's mom. She actually introduced Cameron just last night to a room full of very large supporters in their hometown of Elizabethtown in his final stop before today, before this big day. Now, Now, during these stops, Monday, Cameron had touted especially his endorsement from Donald Trump, plans for education and plans for the economy. And if Daniel Cameron succeeds tonight, he would become the state's first black governor after making history as the state's first black attorney general. We've yet to see him here, of course, but this room is still very much excited to welcome him here. We did see Daniel Cameron this morning with his family in Louisville, all smiles as he voted, saying he is just at peace and is ready for some family time no matter what happens tonight. For now, live in Louisville, Grayson Passmore, WKYT.
Grayson, thank you. Let's take a look at some of the other races that we're following tonight with the numbers that we have at this point. We're going to start with the Agriculture Commissioner race there. Jonathan Schell still in the lead with 57% of the vote to Sierra Anlo's 43%.
A lot of rural and agricultural areas still to come in that end that looks good for him. Mark Metcalf is leading, as you see, in the race for Kentucky State Treasurer. Metcalf, who lost, and he probably is tired of thinking about losing that 1998 primary by 4 votes. So he worked very hard in this race to try to become the state treasurer. He leads Michael Bowman, the Democrat.
And our next race, okay, we'll have more of those to come in just a moment. We want to get you now to Phil Pendleton. He is live for us in Lancaster tonight. He is with Jonathan Schell and Mark Metcalf.
We are here in the Lancaster Public Square where hopefully in just a couple of moments, at least the candidates are hoping so, that there will be victory speeches here, and their supporters are hoping that as well. The public square is starting to fill up here. We just got a copy of the unofficial Garrett County results showing that both Mark Metcalf and Jonathan Schell have easily won their home counties, about 80 to 20% of the total vote here in Garrett County. Again, those are unofficial results, and according to these results just handed to us just a couple of moments ago. But they have the music playing. Alex Miller is expected to sing the national anthem here in about 5 minutes or so, and then the candidates will be making speeches of some kind once the final statewide results are in. The state treasurer's race moments ago was showed to be tied, and it showed Jonathan Schell with about a 4-point lead. Of course, things can change pretty drastically as more statewide numbers come in, but a very festive atmosphere on this very warm, unseasonably warm November night here in Garrett County. Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Rocking and rolling there.
Springfield playing in the background.
I don't remember a time that we've been able to have our reporters live outside on election night, especially in November
usually,
for sure. Let's take a look at some of those other races that I tried to get to you just a second ago. Let's start out, I believe, with the Attorney General's race and look at the numbers
look at those numbers in which Russell Coleman, who's a former U.S. attorney for the Western District of Kentucky, that's based in Louisville and then is about 60 counties to the west, he very quickly got into the Attorney General's race and kind of cleared the field, announcing that he was already raising money very early last summer, right after Cameron joined the governor's race. And you see him with a substantial lead at the moment over Pamela Stevenson.
Next up is our race for Secretary of State, Michael Adams, with 60% of the vote there to Buddy Wheatley, 40%.
And we will look now at the race for state auditor, where Allison Ball is hoping to move from her position as state treasurer into a job that she says will make her more of a watchdog. And she says she is looking forward to that should she win, and she is substantially up right now.
Let's go back to Louisville now. Our Samantha Valentino is in Louisville. She is following some of the Republicans who are on the down ballot races tonight. Samantha?
Yeah, it is a packed house, as you can see around me here at the Marriott in downtown Louisville. This is the Republican Party headquarters, Daniel Cameron's campus here, along with 3 of the Republican candidates for some of those down ballot races. Those are Attorney General, Secretary of State, and Auditor. Now, we have seen Russell Coleman, candidate for Attorney General, and current Secretary of State running for re-election, Michael Adams. Have not seen Allison Ball yet. She is running for Auditor, but we do anticipate her being here soon. Everybody in this room is hoping for a Republican sweep, and they are hoping that this watch party will soon turn into a victory party for the Republicans here in Kentucky. But for now, I will send it back to you all in the studio, live in Louisville. Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
All right, Samantha, thank you. We're also going to go now to our Julia Sandor. She is also in Louisville for us, and she's following the other Democrats on the ticket.
Yeah, and we're here in Louisville
again, just like you guys were saying, of course, these candidates are being optimistic. We're going to take a look around the room. You can see there are a lot of people here. Among those people, we saw leaders from Planned Parenthood, some educators from Fayette County, and we even saw legislators, Senator Karen Berg and Representative Chad All. Now, these races are still close, so we're taking a look at a few of them. We have Treasurer Michael Bowman. We've seen those, and these numbers are still early, but we're taking a look at that. And then also Attorney General numbers. We know Pamela Stevenson has been very vocal this legislative session, and she's hoping, and they're all still very optimistic about the outcome for tonight. But for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys live in Louisville. Julia Sandor, WKYT.
All right, Julia, thank you. We do have one wet, dry vote to look at tonight. We're going to go back to Garrett County for this one. Garrett County, a wet, dry vote, voting yes there tonight.
By a substantial margin. That's been the trend when the wet, dry elections have been held here in recent years. Prohibition held a long time in Kentucky, but slowly but surely the county governments. So Lancaster was wet. This is now an entire county-wide vote. Same thing had happened in Madison back in May.
All right. Stay with us. There is much more Campaign 2023 coverage to come.
If you or anyone in your family has been injured, call America's largest injury law firm. Call Morgan & Morgan. ForThePeople.com.
Hey, Big Blue Nation, support the Cats with the new UK Federal Credit Union and WKYT I'm All Blue button. You can pick one up at any UK FCU location to support the Cats. Go Big Blue. Breaking weather and traffic doesn't have to take you by surprise.
With First Alert weather alerts and traffic alerts in the morning, we'll get you where you need to go on time.
When you watch WKYT News in the mornings, you know first. We keep this from happening to you.
WKYT, the station to watch the most weather and traffic updates all morning long.
Are you and your crew all blue? Submit your picture of you and your all blue crew. Go to WKYT.com/allblue and you can get you and your crew's pick on WKYT and a chance to win $50 in our weekly drawing. Show everyone your support for your team. Let everyone know you're all blue. Go to WKYT.com/allblue to submit your all blue photos. Sponsored by UK Federal Credit Union. You're watching WKYT, home of Super Bowl 58.
Welcome back in tonight. We continue to follow the governor's races and several others tonight, and we want to get you the latest in the governor's race right now, Bill, with about 41% of the votes estimated in. Andy Beshear there with 54% to Daniel Cameron 46%.
Continuing a substantial lead for the incumbent governor. Daniel Cameron would need to make up some ground quickly in some of the rural areas and in western Kentucky as those votes will be coming in. As we look at the map, as we said, it is filling in many of the places you would anticipate that Cameron would win and many that you would anticipate Beshear would win. However, the margins are in Beshear's favor. He's winning bigger in counties that he barely won in 2019. Cameron is not getting the vote it looks like that he would need to overcome. But it's early. We still have nearly 60% of the vote out.
We are watching these counties here, but we also have Garrett Weimer in with us tonight. He's at the alert desk, and Garrett's able to go through those individual counties and sort of show us region by region how those numbers are playing out. Garrett?
Well, we talked earlier about some of those issues, the disasters and such like that. So we wanted to kind of take a look in the eastern Kentucky region to start here, and some of those counties there. And we have touched on them a little bit, but let's take a look there at Breathitt County. You can see the margin there, and in 2019, it was a 2% Beshear win. A 2% Beshear win in 2019, a lot higher there so far this year. Magoffin County, you can see that neck and neck. That was a Democrat +9, so +9 for Beshear in 2019. And then Knott County, Cameron winning that county by 9%, still very early in that. That certainly could change, but that was a county that Beshear won by 1% in 2019. And now let's take a look at Northern Kentucky, those critical Northern Kentucky counties that we talked about earlier as well. Kenton County, that's a +9 for Beshear right now with 70% of the vote in. That was a 1% win for Beshear in 2019. And then if you look at Campbell County, that was a 6% win for Beshear in 2019. And he is up 19% right now with 72% of the vote in. And then Boone County, a solidly Republican area, as we talked about, a 12% margin there for Cameron, but even that is smaller than the Republican wins in Boone County in 2019 and in 2015, guys.
All right, Garrett, thank you.
All right, we are joined by Dr. Ann Sismar from EKU and Dr. Don Doogie from Transy. They've been kind of looking through the numbers here this evening, and we know a whole lot more now than we did a couple of hours ago, right? What stands out to you?
Well, so far this race hasn't been quite as close as I thought it was going to be. But again, we still have a lot of area out in the western part of the state in which I would expect Republicans to do well, where we still have a lot of votes left to count.
Sure. Well, and the big bump that would come from the urban areas like Louisville and Lexington, I think, has been absorbed to a large extent. And so the race has gotten a bit closer. We'll have to see what happens out west.
It appears Beshear may have extended wins into some of the surrounding counties to Fayette, is what we're noticing as well. He slightly carried Madison 4 years ago. That is tightening, but it looks like he may have a little bit of a larger lead there than he did 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was a razor-thin margin in Madison County the last time through, and right now he's up several points, which is big.
Does anything surprise either of you when you look at the Eastern Kentucky numbers that we are starting to get in? This is a place that the governor has spent a lot of time in the last year due to flooding and helping in the rebuilding process. Does anything surprise you in that area?
Well, most of the counties that he did well in 2019, Beshear is doing well in again. In northeastern Kentucky, it doesn't appear to be doing quite as well as he did in 2019. But again, the votes are not all in there either.
And by that you mean the Ashland area up there? Yeah.
North of Ashland.
Yeah. All right.
Dr. Sismar?
Well, I do think we are seeing some of those areas in the eastern part of the state that perhaps were affected by various natural disaster issues going a little bit more heavily for Beshear, and it's an area in which Trump had done pretty well. And so some of these areas in which you saw Trump being pretty big and pretty successful, you're not seeing as much support there for Cameron, which was surprising.
Sure.
How did the abortion issue play into this race? We know last year there was an amendment that could have had the effect of enshrining abortion ban into the Constitution. That went down to defeat. Was that perhaps an indicator of some of what might happen this year?
I do think that might be part of the story here tonight. We don't have quite enough data yet about who came out to the polls, but I do have to wonder if those younger voters are turning out, if they're partly motivated by some of the abortion or LGBTQ issues in this election cycle.
And the women's vote as well. We don't know what the percentages there are either.
All right. We are going to make a call right now. We are calling the race for Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams, reelected as Secretary of State. He, of course, had run the ads with Governor Beshear, the Democrat. This is a Republican. Adams winning, but he had, in a very unusual move, ran those ads with Beshear last week.
I think he's played this election so well. So he held on to his seat. He didn't try to move to another position when he still had 4 years left. And it looks like that bipartisan messaging is really paying off for him tonight.
Well, and he's done a very credible job in his office. I mean, he did a good job with the last set of elections and continues to make progress with respect to getting the vote out and those sorts of things. So it's not surprising that he won.
He's for allowing independents to vote in primaries. Do you see that now as
we're
more
going to
likely?
go to a blanket primary? That would be a first.
Thank you all so much for being with us tonight and enlightening us. It's been a lot of fun. We appreciate that very much. As our numbers continue to come in, we continue to follow Election Night 2023 on WKYT.
Car wreck? I'm attorney Daryl Isaacs. Don't let a car wreck turn your life upside down. We're here to make things right and fight to get you every dollar you deserve. We've recovered billions of dollars for our clients. At Isaacs & Isaacs, we fight and we win.
Roy Kidd put together a Hall of Fame coaching career, and he never left Kentucky. The wins came, and so too did the championships. But it was never about that. The focus was on the pride in doing your best. Roy Kidd, A Matter of Pride, is an in-depth look at the life and legacy of a bluegrass icon. Join WKYT Sports as we talk to the people who joined Kidd on this journey and who are still influenced by him today. Roy Kidd, A Matter of Pride, Saturday, November 18th at 1 on WKYT.
Hey, Tanya.
Oh, hi, Jim.
We wanted to remind you about signing up for our school and business closing notifications.
Scan the QR code you see, and it'll take you directly to the WKYT School and Business Closings page. And we'll notify our viewers whenever you have a delay or a cancellation.
Thanks, Chris. Have an apple.
Oh, cool, thanks. What about me?
Have a donut, Jim.
I guess I'm going to have to eat my way out of this one.
Better mornings start here.
Now at 6 on WKYT Mornings.
Helping you plan with what's happening now and what's next.
We do have breaking news out of Lexington this morning.
Wake up with WKYT Mornings with Victor, Kristen, Jim, Mariah, Destiny, and India. The biggest morning team with the most local news in more places.
And we're here with more local news on the CW Lexington.
With first alert weather and traffic.
I'm going to keep an eye on this slow spot here.
WKYT Mornings.
Breaking weather and traffic doesn't have to take you by surprise.
With first alert weather alerts and traffic alerts in the morning, we'll get you where you need to go on time.
When you watch WKYT News in the mornings, you know first. We keep this from happening to you.
WKYT, the station to watch the most weather and traffic updates all morning long.
Injured in a wreck? Your team at Isaacs & Isaacs is ready to fight for you.
From the very first call, we treat you like family.
So if you're injured in a wreck, put our team to work for you. WeWin.com.
All right, welcome back in. We continue to watch these numbers. As you said, Bill, just a moment ago, we know a little bit more than we did a couple of hours ago, but we are still waiting on some very crucial things here tonight when it comes to races.
Exactly, and we do have crews following these down-ballot races for you tonight, and we do want to check in, see what's going on. Samantha Valentino is going to be joining us in just a few minutes to update us on the situation there.
Let's look at some of the races that we do know that have been called tonight. We're going to start with we're going to start with the governor's race. This one has not been called, but let's look at the numbers of what we do know right now with about 47% of the votes in. Andy Beshear there with 53% to Daniel Cameron's 47%. Now we're going to look at
Adriel Camuel is elected to the State House of Representatives. She wins in the 93rd District in South Lexington and will be going to represent folks in Frankfort from that area.
And next up, we have the Secretary of State, Michael Adams, will be returning to that office, being reelected here tonight.
We will look now at the new mayor of Flemingsburg. The mayor-elect tonight is Van Alexander, soon to lead the county seat in Fleming County.
And we also have a wet, dry vote tonight out of Garrett County. The folks there voting to go wet in Garrett County tonight. Let's look at some more numbers, and we're going to start now with the Attorney General's race. As we bring up those numbers, Russell Coleman with 57% to Pamela Stevenson's 43%.
And picking up more of a lead as we get to more numbers in for Coleman. Agriculture Commissioners, you're seeing Jonathan Schell now with a substantial lead over Sierra Enlow. And the state auditor's race, Allison Ball, the current state treasurer, looks to be in good position to go on to become state auditor. Mark Metcalf leading substantially for treasurer.
All right, we will be here with you throughout the rest of the evening, bringing you any updates necessary. Of course, we'll be back at 10 o'clock on the CW and then here at 11 on WKYT.
All right, hang on for the ride. Thanks for being with us for WKYT Election Night coverage.
Want a flatter, tighter tummy? Then check out new Ab EX from Sono Bello.
Doctor, after my pregnancies, my body just never bounced back. I had this stomach overhang that made me really self-conscious.
It's not your fault. That stubborn fat and excess skin is very difficult to get rid of with diet and exercise alone.
That's exactly why I went to Sono Bello. I really trust their team of experts, and I finally got the flat stomach I had always wanted.
Introducing Ab EX from Sono Bello. Remove fat and lose excess skin permanently in just one visit.
Ab EX is a great alternative to a tummy tuck because that overhang you mentioned becomes flat and tight fast with minimal downtime.
Schedule your free, no obligation consultation now to learn more about Ab EX by Sono Bello. Call 1-888-507-8988 or go to sonobello.com.